Well, we learned more about the quarterback situation yesterday.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Today's show, we're joined by Auburn quarterback Hank Brown. Hugh Freeze announced at Tiger Talk that he is QB2, will be the official backup for the Tigers as the season starts next weekend. Also coming up, we'll be joined by Auburn message board legend Charlie Five. We're going to talk about the offensive line situation, some changes happening along the offensive front, and what that means for the Tigers. Auburn quarterback Hank Brown joining us. So yesterday, Hank, the news came out. It sounds like you guys spoke to the coaches earlier that day, and then Coach Freeze announced it at Tiger Talk. But you have won the backup quarterback job to start the season. I can't imagine how competitive that was throughout the spring and fall, but what was going through your mind when Coach Freeze kind of broke the news to you?
Yeah, I honestly, the first thing that just came to my mind when they let me know was just like more motivation to just work harder and just obviously super excited. Makes me just stoked for this upcoming season and what it holds. But just really honestly, like when I first heard it, it was just like, all right, it's time to really just amp it up and just prepare myself weekly, just as best I can for each and every game.
Sure. I know we talked about this at times last year when your role in the depth chart was different than it's going to be this year. But I mean, you still talked about the importance of preparing just because you never know. But I mean, I would imagine it does put more stress on how you prepare throughout the week now, knowing that you are just one play away.
100%. As I was talking to my QB coach today, he was just letting me know, like, I need you to prepare like you are the starter and prepare each and every week like you're going to play because you need to be ready. And so exactly what you're saying, I have to prepare that way. And that's kind of the way I'm wired. Like, no matter what, I'm going to prepare that way. And so, like, I'm just excited to be able to really, obviously fall camp where we're not necessarily scouting our own defense. And when we get into a real game plan week, we get to really hone in on their defense and exactly what they do and game plan, what concepts, what, formations, whatever it is that work best against that. And so I'm just excited to, really dive into their film and what each team does each week.
Yeah. Coach Freeze told media at his presser this past Friday that they knew who the backup would be. They knew the pecking order, the quarterback depth chart, but he hadn't talked to you guys. Yeah. So obviously that's happened since then, and only share what you feel comfortable sharing. But I mean, what did that conversation look like? How does that conversation even come up? I think the average fan would love to hear that.
Yeah. So, they just pulled me aside and wanted to let me know, obviously, that I was the two and that they're behind me and they want me to succeed. And like I said earlier, they want it to be something where it's like, this needs to be something that motivates you and allows you to just intensify the process. And so, I think it was honestly, it was great, refreshing to hear that from them and that they have my back and that they view me as a quarterback that can play in this offense and all the above. But, I think honestly, it's just like I kind of mentioned earlier, it's just like they want me to just intensify and amp up everything that I'm doing to where I need to be ready.
Yeah. Coach Freeze told the media Friday that all of the offensive coaches agreed on who the second quarterback is, which we now know, obviously it was you. I mean, that's got to be cool. I mean, you've talked a bunch about how much respect you have for Coach Austin, your quarterback coach, and obviously Coach Nick's coming over to be the OC. And then, I mean, really your relationship with Coach Freeze and y'all's journey that y'all have had together, with you committing to him when he was at Liberty and then you guys kind of coming over to Auburn together. I mean, that's got to be a really cool thing because of how much you respect all of these coaches.
100%. You know, I think I've mentioned it before, but like this coaching staff is just different.
Mhm.
That's I guess a vague way to put it, but I really respect all these coaches
Yeah.
and everything they stand for, both on and off the field. And like you said, you know, I've had a journey with Coach Freeze from Liberty, and you know he's one of one in my mind, and I just really
Yeah.
respect him and Coach Austin and all these offensive coaches that are putting this
Sure.
offense together. I think it's just leading us in the complete right direction, and I'm just excited to see what we can put on tape this year.
So what's the next step now? I mean, fall camp is over. And now you guys are practicing as if you're in season. I mean, do you expect to get more reps now? I mean, I assume Payton will get the most of them, and then you'll I'm sure you'll come in and get reps with the ones. I mean, is that kind of what the next step looks like? Did they break that down for you, or is this kind of like we'll see what happens when practice gets here?
Yeah, so they kind of broke down. Obviously, now I'm getting more reps just with the twos alone, but
Okay.
also just kind of our schedule going forward these next 2 weeks, kind of what it looks like from a practice standpoint. Of you know this week we're gonna start implementing more scout team periods to start focusing on our first few opponents, but
Mhm.
um, you know I think next week will be a actual game week, obviously, but this week's going to kind of be more of like half and half. We're going to be able to recover well from fall camp and you know not put a ton of stress on our bodies, but at the same time get good mental work in. And we will be practicing um, a few times this week, and then we'll be doing our mock game Saturday. So yeah, from a rep standpoint, I'm excited to get more reps and just be able to just lock in both mentally and physically.
Hank, where is the offense? I've heard the offense over the last two scrimmages specifically have really taken a big step forward as far as production and efficiency and every positive word you want to use to describe the offense. And I've heard good things from Payton. I've heard good things from you or about you guys as far as commanding the offense. Does it feel like you guys as an offense have turned the corner this fall camp?
100%, no doubt about it. I think you know from a quarterback standpoint, I think we've definitely just had a better grasp of you know our role and how we command this offense, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
and just the freedom that we have to be able to you know check in and out of different plays, get us in the right plays, whatever that looks like. And so that's been awesome just for us to be able to kind of see how that works. And
Yeah.
you know, I was telling someone the other day, like being able to see someone have success in front of you is just awesome for me. Like me seeing Peyton have success some like this fall camp and me being able to just learn from that and try to replicate that. And it's just something that's really cool. And so you know, from an offensive standpoint, having these playmakers is huge, and I think
Yeah.
everybody knows that now. But it just changes the whole game as a quarterback, knowing that you have guys around you that can make plays.
Yeah, I want to ask you more about your teammates and some of these playmakers that you just mentioned in just a second, Hank. That's coming up next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Ibata. Sandal, sunscreen, snack for the kids. What do these have in common? Well, you're probably buying a ton again this summer, but don't stress about the cost. Use Ibata and get cash back on all of your purchases when you stock up on your summer and fall essentials. Ibata is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies. You can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. So right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibata by using the code Locked On College when you register. That's all one word, Locked On College. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibata app, and start earning cash back by using our code Locked On College. That is IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and using code Locked On College. Hank, when you talk about the rest of the offense and the playmakers, first thing, I mean, you mentioned Peyton having a good fall camp. Where is he this fall versus where he was a year ago? I mean, is it noticeable?
100% is noticeable. And I don't think last year's fall camp was as much a knock on him necessarily, but I think
Okay.
just the rules in this offense compared to last year, it's just more defined rules, more different things that there's not a ton of gray area, if that makes sense.
Okay.
There's defined lines where, hey, you read this wrong, or you read it right. So it's like, if you read it wrong, obviously let's grow from it. Let's watch the film. Let's get better at it. And so when you have an offense from that standpoint, that's just more defined and the rules are very detailed. And that's something that I've learned from, first of all, in my high school career. Like
Mhm.
Coach Dilfer at Lipscomb, for me, like the rules were very defined. And so I was able to grow and get better from that. And then obviously this year with our offense, very similar in that aspect. So for Payton, just there's a huge difference from last year to this year. And I think one of the big things that I've seen is just his confidence is a lot higher this year.
Mhm.
And I feel like, the coaches and players believe in him, and he's been able to take that step of confidence and be able to step into that role and have a good camp.
When you say rules, does that mean, okay, if this play is called and the defense is in this certain look, you change the play, or you look at this option versus, maybe the number two receiver versus the number one? What all goes into that when you say rules?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that go into that, and it depends what type of play call we're in. There's different
Sure.
worlds that we run through this offense, like Coach Freeze and his RPO offense, right?
Mhm.
So if you have an RPO and the defense lines up in this certain look, your eyes go to this person.
Okay.
Versus if they line up in a different look, and a lot depends on who's all in the box, right? And so your eyes have to start in one place and one defender who may or may not enter that box, if that makes sense. And so it's like you have to be correct on that because the rules are defined. In this look, you look at this guy. This look, you look at this guy. And so when you're able to do that and work through the offense, then you can, change the play based on where they're aligned, or give the receivers a signal to say, hey,
Yeah.
you're man on man. I want you to run and go. And so, it's hard to say there's certain things, but it's really play specific. But
Sure.
especially in the RPO game, there's defined rules of where we're going with it.
So Hank, talking about the playmakers in this offense, I mean, it seems like we're only out there for 15 to 20 minutes a week, but it's like anytime there's a camera on Cam Coleman for more than 3 minutes, he just does something absolutely insane. And I'm sure, like, having practiced with that guy, I mean, it's got to be a pretty unique experience.
Yeah, it's more than unique. He's unlike anything I've seen. You put the ball up there, and a lot of people say it's 50-50 ball. With him, it's 99-1. like he comes down with every ball, and it's
Mhm.
it's just absurd. Like he's gonna be a freak and someone that I don't think I think people in Auburn understand like how good he's going to be, but people around the country don't know like how good he truly is going to be. He's going to be one of the top receivers in college football.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
that.
I do too. I believe you. As far as some of these late additions, but guys that certainly seem like they're going to be a part of the offense. Keandre Lambert Smith coming over from Penn State, and then obviously Perry Thompson, a guy that you and I've talked about before. It sounds like both of them have acclimated to their time at Auburn very quickly. What stood out about those two guys, Hank?
No doubt. I think Keandre Lambert Smith, like he's one that, man, you can just tell he's got that experience. He's going to be a big time player for us this year, and he's going to contribute a ton. And
Yeah.
so I'm super excited. I think everybody around the building knows that, and everyone's stoked for him and what he's going to be able to produce for us as an offense. And he gives you someone who is, one, obviously very smart and experienced, and can help out some of these younger receivers on the field. but 2 is a freak of an athlete as well. And he can go up and get those 50-50 balls. He's fast. He can do it all.
Yeah.
And so I'm super excited for him and to see what he's going to do. Perry Thompson is one that is going to be very special, and he's shown flashes. He's just young, and he's got to learn the offense a little bit better and learn his body and how he can best use it. And, I think of, Coach talks about DK Metcalf, how, it didn't come naturally right away. And like, it's college. This is the, best of the best in college football. And so it's like, not many people can come in and just dominate off the rip. But he's going to be special. This year's going to be good for him to just be able to grow a ton.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Is Robert Lewis forgotten with all these new guys that have come in? I mean, he seems like he might be the best route runner of all the receivers. I mean, he's so experienced, Hank. Sounds like he had a few good third down pickups in y'all's most recent scrimmage. But is this a guy that Auburn fans are maybe overlooking just because they've added so many receivers since he committed here?
For sure. I think he's not getting a ton of notice. And like you said, like, he might be our best route runner. He is. Yeah. He is shifty and smooth and is able to dodge defenders when he's running routes. And that's something that's very special, because a lot of the time in the slot, it's easy to get jammed. But he does a good job of sliding off those guys. So he's very impressive. And he's definitely a guy that's been under the radar recently, like you're saying.
For sure.
But, I think he definitely can do some special things. And he's another guy that's experienced and can also help, young guys like Malcolm, who's playing the same position, who's once again a freak, who's going to be really, really, really good. But he's a guy that can, help him mature his game a lot.
Yeah, that open scrimmage where it was like the Malcolm Simmons scrimmage. I mean, it seemed like every time he touched it, something crazy was happening. I mean, was he already doing that in practice, or was that when he turned the corner for him?
I think he was definitely doing stuff like that in practice. He showed flashes, but that was definitely a turning point for him, because since that scrimmage, he showed that every day after that scrimmage and in practice. And so, we knew he had that potential, but he definitely showed it out on that field. And, there's some guys too that it's like, when you're under the lights and when the game is on, it's like, you're a gamer and you turn it on. And I think he's definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, that's important. That's important. Hank, thank you for your time, man. Really, really appreciate it. And congrats on winning the job, man.
Thank you. It's a blessing. I really appreciate it.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Charlie 5. Kyle Rush.
Yes.
Can you imagine wagering anywhere other than our friends at FanDuel?
I can't. I don't know why you do that. It doesn't make any sense.
So here's the thing. They always do the bonus bet thing. Well, they've got something a little different for folks now. And tell me where you think this is going. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5. And what do you think they get? What do you think they get?
A free bet? $5 free bet? I don't know. Close.
They get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV.
What? For $5? A $5 bet?
Tell me a more dynamic duo than FanDuel and NFL Sunday Ticket.
Holy
Are you kidding
cow.
me?
Wow. That's incredible.
With the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account, which those are free, and a current form of payment you can cancel anytime. I mean, holy cow.
Wow.
Holy cow. $5? That costs more than $5. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, for sure. Try like 100.
All right, so visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Joined now by Auburn message board legend, thebarnauburn.com, Kyle Rush. Some people know him as Charlie 5. Let's talk about the changes happening on Auburn's offensive line. We kind of speculated over the weekend what this could mean. Hugh Freeze said it yesterday. They're flipping Percy Lewis and Dylan Wade. Dylan Wade's been at left tackle since Percy Lewis got here. That's part of the reason why everybody was so excited, ourselves included, about Percy Lewis, was you bring him in, you can scoot Dylan Wade inside. Doesn't sound like that's going as smooth as we thought it would be at this point of the year. So they're flipping them. Of course, Dylan Wade played at left tackle all last season. He was fine. I don't think he was great, but he was really, really solid. And to me, like, I guess there's elements to this of like, okay, I'm glad that they're doing this. I'm glad that they're making this change. Why did it take so long? Like, fall camp is technically over at this point. You're getting ready for the season. You're in season. School has started back. I'm just surprised it took them this long to make this change, but that's apparently what they're doing at camp or at practice this week.
The big thing is this week. That was the phrase, this week, not this is the change we're making. So I think that's a very important distinction to make. Look, I think it would be irresponsible if you're having a little bit of you're unsure or a little bit of, hey, there's just something not quite clicking. I think it would be irresponsible at this point when you have what I think are at least 7 offensive linemen that I think can play at the SEC level, not figuring out which of the best 5 wherever they need to be is the best rotation. Look, if the word is that Percy Lewis is having a little bit of trouble at left tackle, like blocking in space, why not move him inside and then have Dylan Wade, who's played left tackle all last year, see if that rotation works? Am I back?
I think I
think it was you this time. I don't think it was me. I think I was vibing and you were frozen.
I'm sure your answer was great, though.
No, it was. Yeah. So if Percy Lewis is having trouble blocking in space, move him inside. Dylan Wade played a whole year at left tackle. I think it makes sense. I get what you're saying. Why did it take this long? Yeah. But at the same time, you're a week away from you're 2 weeks away from first game. You got a week where you can experiment with it this week.
I get it.
Why not give it a shot?
I get it. Yeah. So it's almost like is the battle between like Percy Lewis at left guard versus Tyler Johnson at left tackle. Like, how much does Dylan Wade come into this battle? Or do you get what I'm trying to say? Or is like Dylan Wade at left tackle truly better than what Tyler Johnson brings to the table? Because we've heard nothing but incredible things about Tyler Johnson. But to me, it's a great situation to be in, considering the depth that Auburn has all of a sudden.
Here's a difference, I think. So number one, those guys, even though they're going to be flip-flopped on where they're blocking from, they've been building chemistry together. Okay. Sure. So if you can just put Dylan where he was last year, doing the same thing, which I think I know he was put on an island out there at left tackle. I think he ended up being a pretty daggum good left tackle for us. Yeah. And then if you just basically flip-flop in their positions, and maybe that makes a little bit more easier transition than taking somebody out and putting somebody new in. Try that before you throw another Hail Mary and bring in a whole different offensive lineman in with that group who's been sort of working together over the last 6-8 months, I guess.
Yeah. I just love the fact that there are options.
Yeah, that's people are getting hung up on this thing, but like the deal is there is good option. I think, like I said, I think there's 7, maybe an even argument for 8 offensive linemen on this roster that I think could play at an SEC level. I think they could play at other SEC schools and maybe even start at other SEC schools. And you just got to find that right 5. And I talked about it yesterday on my show. I don't think it's anything to freak out about. And honestly, wouldn't be shocked with the huge phrasing of this week. I wouldn't be shocked if they try and then go back to where they were the previous week, because I don't think it was necessarily just totally bad. I think it's just, hey, let's just try this. Let's just see if this is something that can take us, get us one step better.
Yeah. The comment he made I guess it was the comment that kind of started all this conversation at his Friday presser.
Yeah.
Where he said that, Connor Lew was making the right calls and then it wasn't making it all the way down the line. I mean, the way he said that, it sounded pretty like negative towards whoever he was referring to.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, it's like, did they not know the calls? And so like keeping the same guys on the field and switching them, does that fix that problem? Like, I'm genuinely curious. I don't know the answer to that.
I'm not 100% sure this switch is made based off of trying to get the call down the line. I think it's just literally. I think Percy has just struggled a little bit in space. I think that's that bottom line. There's been some pass rush stuff. We've got some guys that can pin their ears back and go, and I think he struggled at times with that. And I think Dylan Wade is just a little bit more athletic. So if that little switch is what it takes you to the next step, takes you to the next level, so you don't have to scheme away from it. Maybe you can, over protect that left tackle. Maybe then great. I think it's worth trying.
Do you think this type of move or shift would have happened in previous years? Because I think in other years, we don't necessarily learn that because you may not have as many pass rushers that exposes this potential weakness. Yeah, which is a totally glass half full way of looking at this.
Great point. Talent, the talent on both sides of the ball, I think, is able to help you reveal a lot of things, help you reveal a lot of things that maybe could have been disguised a little bit in previous years, because you don't have that depth, because you don't have that, I don't want to say just elite talent across the board, but you don't have those good battles. You don't have those good battles where it's like sort of good on good. You kind of overwhelm on one side or the other. Those good pass rushers, your Kieron Crawford, your Jalen McLeod, they're showing some weaknesses that we're trying to find solutions for. And that's what good coaches do. They try to find ways within their roster that they can, fix or disguise or help or aid certain deficiencies.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of an understated thing of like what these top rosters and these top programs are doing. You talked about it a ton with development. Sure, coaches can help develop you. There's no question about it. But you know what develops you is when you go up against people who are better than you day in and day out. You're telling me Cam Coleman's not making these corners better? You're telling me Jalen McLeod's not making these tackles better, or at least kind of revealing what some of their weaknesses are? There's no way that that's not happening.
Totally. I'm tired of thinking, I'm tired of the idea that you just go to a certain school and because you're just there, you get developed. There's something in the water. There's some kind of magic potion they put on you to develop. It's just that they got all the best players. So you're competing against the best players. So as Hugh starts to stack up a lot of the best players in the country, the competition is going to be best players on the country versus best players again in the country. And it just makes everybody better.
Yeah, no question about it. So we'll certainly see. If you had to guess from left to right, who's the starting offensive line against Alabama A&M?
My guess is it's the same as it's been. I think it ends up going back.
Percy at left, Percy at left tackle, Dylan at left guard.
Yeah, I think that's the way it goes back. I really do. I think they're going to try it and see what happens, but it's not going to shock me. If I had to guess right now, I'd say it goes back to the way it was.
Do you think that Percy has a shorter leash if we get to the Oklahoma game and he's shown issues against Cal and Arkansas? Do they maybe either make that switch in season between Dylan Wade and Percy? Or do you think, Tyler Johnson maybe gets more reps earlier in the games in some of these where we kind of think Auburn's going to be able to pull away and they're going to play backups? Like, how do you think the roster management or personnel management on the O-line is different now because of what happened this past weekend, if at all?
Gosh, it's tough to say, but I don't.
Yeah, it's clearly to say. Right.
Clearly, they're not scared to try things. They're not scared to try things. The week before the game week, they're already flip flopping lineup. So I think if there's some struggles early, I don't think they're going to be they're not going to be reticent to try anything. I think they'll be ready to give whatever best chance they feel like will make their offensive line better a chance.
Let's talk about the Barn Auburn just for a second. TheBarnAuburn.com. What all do you have cooking up over there, my guy?
Yeah, man, just a little bit of everything. I mean, we got practice notes almost every single day. You got recruiting nuggets that we drop every single day. We've had an awesome 2 weekends in a row with scrimmage coverage. I think better than anyone else. And just overall, I think we have just good, fun content, conversation every single day. And it's definitely worth $1 to try for the first month. So give it a shot. TheBarnAuburn.com. Come hang out. come mix it up. Let's get in there and have a good time.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe to Locked On Auburn. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.